Welcome back to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm Brad Williams. My guest today is guitarist, composer, and producer Matthew Stevens. And this is a conversation I've been looking forward to for a long time. Matthew is one of those musicians whose playing, writing, and producing all carry a real sense of depth and intention. And his new self-titled album feels like a major artistic statement. In this episode, we talk about why this record carries his name, how major life changes shaped the music, and what it meant to make a record that feels more fully like himself than anything he's done before. We also get into collaboration, producing, teaching at Berklee, and the balance between trusting your instincts and trusting the people around you. It's a really thoughtful conversation about sound, feel, identity, and growth. Here's my conversation with Matthew Stevens. Matthew, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. How are things today?
Things are going really well today, Brad. Thanks so much for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I have been a fan of your playing and composing and producing and all of the things that you do for so long. And yeah, it's an honor to have you here and to talk about your career and this amazing new album that's releasing soon.
Oh, thank you so much. That's incredibly generous and kind of you to say. Thank you.
Yeah. So far in 26, or how have things been going for you musically? I know you have a lot of things on the horizon.
Yeah, things have been going well. We hit the ground running. A record that I worked on with Terry Lynn Carrington last year, and Christy DeShiel was nominated for a Grammy and for Vocal Jazz Album of the Year. And so we were playing some more shows for that, and we were down celebrating that nomination at the Grammys in end of January, which was really fun, and been out doing some dates with Esperanza this year already, which has been great, and just gearing up for this album coming out in May and rolling it out song by song. It's been good so far. Yeah, really enjoying doing it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I just read that the Terry Lynn's album that it won the NAACP Image Award.
Yes, which is incredible. We were just talking about that the other day. It's so great to it's an incredible recognition for the project and the album, and that it's a jazz album especially is really special.
Yeah, absolutely. What does it mean to you to be a part of a project like that, you know, it carries like historical weight, but social weight as well? I mean, how does it feel to have your name attached to that project?
It feels really good. It feels, it feels completely in line with what I believe and what I choose to support, and to be included in it is an honor, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, such a beautiful project. I've listened to it many times, and just, yeah, you can just feel the collective love and support and everything from everyone that's involved in it. So yeah, Congratulations on that. So
thank you.
Yeah. So I want to gosh, I can't wait to talk about this new album. I've listened to it ahead of this conversation, and I'm just knocked out by it. It's so good.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so good. And I just have so many questions I want to ask you about. The first of which is one of the things that I love about it is that kind of at this point in your career, it is a self-titled album. You've had lots of albums before this that have their own title to it, but this has your name on it, which I think is really exciting. What was the genesis behind doing that?
Yeah. I have made some other records. It's my first album since 2021. And since then I left New York. A lot's happened for us collectively and for me individually. And, for me, I left New York, I moved to Boston and, started teaching at Berklee. I went through a divorce. I met my now wife, Sarah, 2 years after that. An enormous amount of change and upheaval and things like that, I think demand that we re-examine ourselves from every angle, and in terms of my artistic life, I think that as musicians and artists, the most we can strive for is to really be ourselves. I think that that's the most important thing that we can do. And that, we make work that, reflects our taste and our perspective and our experience. And I think that for me, this work, resonates as my best attempt at that thus far.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's really the best way I could describe the reason for this self-titled.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it's so beautiful to having been in similar circumstances as you in my life, to come through it and to say, this is so who I am right now, that I'm attaching my name to this because this is who I am. I'm finally who I'm meant to be, and where I'm meant to be. I think that's such a beautiful statement to do that.
Thank you. I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know you co-produced this album, right? With two other folks. Mm-hmm. Tell me about how that process worked. Having a melodic, Josh being a melodic player, Eric being a rhythm section guy, and then you playing guitar. Was that intentional, but to have the two of them, or is it more of just your camaraderie?
Well, I think that both. It was certainly intentional. They're both two musicians who I just who I feel a real natural alignment with in terms of like a breadth of interests and what makes us tick as musicians, and a lot of shared interests and influences, and a real sense of what excites us in music and what's important in music. And so I've known Josh for a long time. We met a number of years ago at actually, through Terry Lynn, who's just such a great connector, and unbelievable in that way. We were playing a benefit for a movie that was being made about Wayne Shorter called Zero Gravity, and Josh was at the what was then so-called the Thelonious Monk Institute in Los Angeles, and we met then and sort of stayed in touch. And I just have followed his work and his career, and just been really amazed with the work he's making, and think he has a really unique and evocative perspective on music making. And I thought it would just be great to include someone outside of my usual crew of collaborators, and so that was sort of the reason I invited him into the mix in that way. And Eric is just somebody who I've known and worked with for over 20 years, and who I trust innately, and who I can't. I remember. I mean, like we're so close, and he's just somebody that I trust so implicitly. I mean, I'm making the last record I made was a solo guitar record, and it was during the pandemic. And I remember, bouncing him, recording, doing a take, bouncing it out in the studio, and going, "Hold on a minute, we can't do this until I send this to Eric, and he can tell me if I need to do another one or not." He just has he keeps. I think he's just a great. He's a great musical conceptualist and thinker, and somebody that really. That really I think helps me get to the core of what it is I'm trying to say, and knows when to really push me, and to dig a little deeper, or try another one, or say, "Hey, let's move on. That's it."
Yeah.
So
yeah. Do you feel like did you feel like you may have taken more risks having two of them with you than you might have in the past?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I don't know that I thought of it in those terms. I think that I let go of elements of control that I might have been more held on to more rigidly previously. Feeling like these people they're holding me up, and I really want the whole reason that I have them here is to offer their perspective and their their input and their guidance, and I'm going to listen to that.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
Yeah.
Do you typically write? Do you compose with the players in mind that you're going to use on a project, or do you tend to cast the characters after you write the material?
It's something that I was just having this conversation recently. Usually, what happens, and certainly did in this case, is I'll start writing. I'll have a couple things that feel like kind of like there will be like they're kind of like the central like they will be central to the record, and I feel like, okay, this feels like something that I could build out from. And once I get those couple songs, I then start thinking about who could I imagine playing these, and then I put the group together, and then I continue to write, once I have that. So it's usually I get a couple down, and I go, "Oh wow, wouldn't these be amazing with this group of people?" And then, I line up the band, and I line up the give myself a deadline to record, and I go from there, and then write the remaining, 80% of the music from that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's man, what a collection of fantastic players on there. I've been so struck by even just down to like the bass tones and the sounds of the drums. Everything just sounds so fantastic on there.
Yeah, and I agree, and I really have to just give it up and shout out Kyle Hoffman for his unbelievable engineering. And we're talking about surrounding yourself with people that you trust and admire. And Kyle Hoffman, the engineer at NRG, and that's the studio that he runs in Los Angeles, is one of those people in my life for sure. I met him in 2014, working on the first record I ever did with Esperanza, and we just really hit it off and stayed in touch. And I love working at that studio, and he makes it just so easy. Again, he's someone else that I just trust innately, and who just gets unbelievable sounds across the board. And I really agree. It's interesting that you pointed out the bass sound. I feel like, I think that I was just we were just trying to touching base about some gigs later this year with Kyle Miles, the bass player, and I had to say, man, thanks again. You just played so unbelievable. Everybody did, but I said to Kyle, you just, it's so central. You just played so unbelievably well on this album, and just, held us all down, so unbelievably well. And the capture of like just the width of his sound, it's really something.
Yeah, it really, the sound of the instrument, the way it's recorded, and just what he plays. Yeah, it just really grounds the tunes so well. Yeah, kudos to him.
He knocked me out. Yep, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good. I know that Jeff Parker is a hero of yours, and then Terry Lynn, of course, is a hero and a mentor. Talking about Jeff, do you approach what you play and how you play when you work with someone like that who you have such strong feelings for as a mentor?
I think if anything, I just sort of try to double down on who I know I am, in that, and I think that I hold Jeff in extremely high regard, and we're also really, really different players, and I think the things that I really just knock me out about him is his ability to exist in so many situations entirely as himself, I think that when I'm around any musician that I really admire, I just try to remind myself of that thing I was talking about earlier, where the height of what we're striving for is just to present our own perspective and be ourselves. And so try to just think about that. How can I do that? Not, oh my gosh, are they going to like what I do? Or I don't know, anything like that. I try to just get that entirely out of my mind. But Jeff's somebody that I've known a long time, and I'm very comfortable with, and who I've hung out with a fair bit, and that wasn't our first time playing. We played on a Doc Watson tribute record together as well, and other things too. So
yeah. Well, it's funny you bring up that Doc Watson project. I was just sitting here thinking, I need to find a way to bring that up to him, because I am such a fan of that album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it kind of opened up this entire new world for me with you as a producer. And I'd love to if you could just share a little bit of background on how that project came your way. And I love everything about that album from beginning to end. So It's really wonderful.
Well, thank you. It came to be sort of via a relationship between my publisher and Doc's lifelong manager, Mitch Greenhill. And they worked together on a number of different catalogs, and with Doc Centennial coming up, Mitch was looking for, somebody to produce, like a celebration record. And here put me forward as someone to consider. I think that, as the story was told to me, I think that, I'm not a bluegrass musician. I don't, it's not a world that I exist in as a player. But Mitch was sent a solo guitar record I did called Pittsburgh, which was, it's acoustic music. It's sort of, I don't know, gosh, I don't know what I'd call it, but it's certainly not, bluegrass, but a lot of it's composed, and I think that, like, I'm a big John Fahey fan, and I think a lot of it's, influenced by that in some roundabout way. And I think that Mitch, as it was told to me, I think Mitch thought that I could be a good person to do it, because I was so not in that world that that maybe I would sort of inadvertently, approach these songs with a different perspective, that,
Yeah.
And that's, and I think that was the only way that I really knew how to come to it, not having really any background or real depth of knowledge as far as, bluegrass music goes. And, so I just listened and listened and listened and listened and, thought about people that, would be compelling to include, and pick my favorite songs, and discussed a lot with Mitch about what had to be on there, and then, what I liked and what he liked. And we just kind of, and Pierre and Mitch's son, Matt, I should say, were a part of that process as well. And then it just became a matter of, like, getting a wish list happening of guitar players that we thought would be interested, and getting in touch with the people we knew, and saying, hey, like, would you like to be part of this? And here's a few songs that we think could be great for you, and seeing what resonated with them, and going from there, So it was an incredible experience for me. It was humbling and thoroughly enjoyable. And I learned a tremendous amount, and got to spend some time with, musicians that I've admired my entire life. So,
Yeah. What was your role? I mean, there's quite a cast of characters on that album,
Yeah.
from singers to players.
Yeah.
And, do you like to be an active role in that? Do you like to kind of step back and let someone do their thing and step in as necessary? Where do you typically find that space as a producer?
Yeah. I think it really in that session, it was a number of sessions, right? And different people coming in at different times. And really, we did it over like 8 months or something like that. And so it really changed from session to session, and song to song, and, a lot of people came in and recorded at Sear Sound in New York, and some other people did it remotely. And, but, I think that I just tried to meet everybody where they were, and not go in with any agenda or feeling any need to say or do anything unless it was really necessary, I think, and some people were more actively looking for input and guidance, and other people kind of showed up with a really strong idea of what they wanted to do. Like Steve Earle kind of rolled in and had a really clear idea of what he wanted to do. And we just had a great time, and he did a few takes, and really it was just kind of like, how's that sound to you? And I said, yeah, it sounds good to me. Let's do one more. He said, okay, cool. And he did it, and he said, yeah, I think that's the one. What do you think? And I said, yeah, I agree. I think that's the one. And that was it. Other people, I remember Bill Frisell coming in, and he was playing this song called Your Lone Journey, which is like a really important piece for the record. It was a song that Doc wrote for his wife when she passed. And was it for his wife, or I believe it was for his wife. It might have been for his son. I believe it was for his wife. Anyways, and Bill recorded that song, and he came with this new guitar that he'd gotten, and he was really excited about playing it. And he brought, some pedals and stuff. And I remember him asking, hey, is it okay if I just do this with no pedals? Like, do you want? And I said, yeah, Bill, it's absolutely fine. You do whatever you like. And I remember him saying, like, oh, okay, great. Cause I feel like, I don't, maybe there was like an expectation that I would do it this way or that way, but is it, what do you think? And I said, you do what you want to do. And we did a few takes, and it was, of course, fantastic. And yeah, it was just, that stuck with me because it was just, such an unbelievable, just master musician still asking himself questions like that, and
Yeah.
going, is it okay? Is this cool? Like, or like, is there, do you want me to do it this way, or can I kind of come at it this way? And I feel like I always do it this way, so I wanted to try something different. Is that all right? And, and going, holy mackerel, that was surprising. And but it was really, and really, really cool. And him and Valerie June did a song together, which was like a really fun connection to make. And yeah, things like that. It was just like, it was great to connect people and to be involved and to get to mix it with Jeremy at Seer Sound, and we had a great time.
It's funny, when I first heard that album and heard Bill on there, it's like it captured some of that energy. Let me back up and say that Bill's Nashville album is one of my favorite guitar albums ever.
Agreed.
And there's a spirit to this Doc Watson project that reminds me of that Bill Frisell album. And yeah, I really, man, I'm a really big fan of what you did with that project. Yeah, you said you were in Boston.
Yeah.
Now teaching at Berklee, which you were a student at Berklee. Now you're there teaching.
Yeah.
What is that experience been like for you to come back in this new role where you were there as a student years before?
Yeah. Really incredible and also simultaneously like, holy mackerel, like where did the time go? It feels like, it's like, really, sort of walking halls that I haven't been in 20 years and feeling like I'm 19 again, it's really, really something. But also, it's meaningful to me because it's a great privilege to get to spend time with so many young, gifted musicians and wonderful colleagues, like just thinking about discussing, working on what it is that we care about most, and that's like, I don't take that for granted. And beyond that, it really is been it's meaningful to me in that, like, Berklee and the people I met at Berklee and my time at that school in the early 2000s was like totally transformative for me. And coming from Toronto and, and feeling a little bit unsure of where to turn and what to do and feeling a little bit outside of the scene there in some kind of way as a teenager and feeling really accepted and nurtured and held up at that school and within in the community that I met at that school was like extremely meaningful to me. So to be able to kind of be on the other side now and try to continue that mission, but as a teacher there now is something that I really value. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's so much about going to a conservatory, a music school, about finding the community and just finding that support system and like those friends and contacts and colleagues that you still stay in touch with and maybe even work with all these years later. Yeah. I mean, I think that is as important, or maybe in some ways more important than what you may even learn in your ensembles or your lessons or anything.
I couldn't agree more. And that's something that I often say, like invest in one another, be good to each other and learn each other's music, invest in each other's, artistic visions and spend time hanging out, playing, discussing it, what it is that you like, and forming those relationships, because to your point, these are the people that you're going to go out and be working with and collaborating with, many years into the future, and their networks and communities will become your networks and communities. And, so put the time in and keep that in mind,
Yeah.
So.
How do you think the Berklee experience is for students now compared to maybe when you were there? I've had some conversations with some other people that teach there, and I hear some things like there's a lot of pressure about social media and things like that, about a lot of posting and making sure you're with content. How do you see that being different? Just the entire experience from when you were there as a student.
Well, it's funny that you said that. That's the first thing that popped into my mind before you even said that, was the pressure of feeling like you are maybe needing to start your career and start building a following and before you're even really out there doing the thing. I think that what I loved about music school was that it felt like a protected space in that way, where my only obligation was to myself to improve and to put the time in and to learn and to practice and to and to play with people. And so I think that, well, I know that, for me, it would have felt like a tremendous amount of pressure to feel like I had to get something off the ground as a performing artist while also going to school and honing my craft, And so I realize that, there are many people that are of the opinion that that's just part of what it is now. And I understand that, and I can see that perspective. I also try to encourage students to balance those things, and to remember that this is a kind of a really sacred time in life to really invest in yourself in that way, and in forming the foundation and the bedrock of what will become, your musicianship and in your who you are as an artist and a player in your career. And so to give it the time that it asks, and to try to not worry too much about what the next phase will be,
Yeah. I couldn't imagine my 19-year-old self having to market my my non-existent career,
No, it would be me neither. I mean, it gives me, it makes my shoulders, raise just you just saying that, And so, I think that, I don't think that that's unique to Berklee. I think that that's, I think that's unique to, I think that that's just sort of the way of the world now. To echo your point, that would have been really, really challenging for me to navigate.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I read that, I think you noted that this is maybe your first record employing musicians that are younger than you. Is there people like Chris Fishman, who is just unbelievable. I saw him a year or two ago he was playing here. I'm in St. Louis. He was here with Pat.
Yeah.
And what is that experience been like, working kind of with this next generation of improvisers?
Extremely inspiring, and that again, it sort of it ties into to what I do at Berklee too. It's like it's it's really important to me. It feels like it's really life-giving to be around people who are who have different influences and different experiences coming up and than I did and that I had, and so I'm like, I think that it just, to me, it just feels like another thing to be inspired by, or another perspective to learn something from, and I think that also, in thinking about Chris in particular, it's just great to have that kind of that youthful enthusiasm, in a set, in a session, it's like, it takes me back to that feeling too. I love that energy, of just like, this is, it's like, there's nothing more important than what we're doing right now in this moment in time, and it's like, and it's infectious and it's a great thing to have around in the studio for sure.
Yeah. I've had this interesting thing happen in the past few years, in that I was always the youngest guy in every band that I was in. And,
yeah.
And it feels to have shifted now, and I don't know how I feel about it.
Yes. Yeah. I can relate. Yeah. I know it happens quicker than you'd like.
Yeah. I'm like, well, okay. But like you said, just like this youthful, perspective and this youthful energy, it really does add this really cool element to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So this, I think, as of next week, new single is going to be dropping from the album, Take Heart.
Yes.
It's a wonderful tune. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it. It kind of has this kind of a global feel to it, which I really enjoy of it.
Yeah. I mean, like it was it was one of the earlier songs for me that came when working on that record, and something that, as a musician, I'm sure you'd agree that, there are very few, if any, absolutes in music, right? by any stretch. But something that I feel, if there's anything close, it would be that, that everything kind of hinges on sound and feel, and so I think that, for me, that the kind of driving force of that song is just that you can take a relatively simple idea and give it to a group of musicians who are really hungry to have a conversation and are really collectively focused on creating an undeniably good feeling rhythmic tapestry and really, that's just sort of a recipe for exciting things to happen, so it's almost like a, hey, nice to meet you kind of song, or something. It's like it's something to kind of get the conversation started, not only for the people listening to the album, but also I think it felt like it needed to go early on because it was like feels like that for the musicians too. It's like it was one of the first things we played, not in the session, but in one of the first shows we did, and it just felt like a great way to kind of meet each other, so to speak, and to get the dialogue happening.
Yeah, it really sets the tone. I mean, it's quite a statement right out of the gate. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is it's amazing. It's good.
Oh, I'm glad it hits you like that.
Yeah. How did I'm curious about just the tracking of the album. Did you record a lot of things together in the studio? I mean, it has a collective energy to it. Yeah. That.
Yeah. I think, 95% of it was recorded together in real time in over 3 days at the studio. There was a couple of percussion overdubs, that Paulo Stagnaro did. Rich Hinman added, he doubled a melody on pedal steel. But for otherwise everything was recorded in the room.
Yeah. I like the choice of adding pedal steel guitar on the. I just thought it added just a color to the tune that was really. You didn't know that it needed it until you heard it, and you're like, "Oh, of course."
Isn't that the way of pedal steel? It's like, I know it's just the best. I know that's how I feel every time. And whenever I hear great pedal steel playing, I kind of go like, I'm a huge fan of Daniel Lanois, and I love, and every time I hear pedal steel, I kind of had this moment of going like, why would anybody not play that guitar? Like, why would anybody play guitar any other way? Or like we should all just do this or attempt to do this. There's nothing better.
And I'm sure it from watching someone play. People always talk about drummers having to work on their independence and all that. Mm-hmm. Pedal steel requires more independence than any instrument, I think, on the planet.
I can't even imagine. I sat down at it once and I went just, whoa. I got up in 10 seconds. Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah, it is something. It's I have several friends that are really wonderful steel guitar players, and I just talk with them about like the knee levers and the foot pedals, and I'm like, what are you? Why would you do this? I mean, it's like trying to fly an airplane or something playing that instrument.
Right, yeah. That's right.
Alberta, let your hair hang low. I saw her first on an April morn as she walked through the mist in a field of hay. Her hair lit the world with its golden glow, and the smile on her face burned my heart away. Alberta, let your hair hang low.
You also have some really wonderful singers on this project as well. Anna B. Savage, incredible on there. How did that collaboration come to be?
Anna's from the UK, and I met her 2018, I want to say, maybe even 2017. We in Banff, Alberta, we were both artists in residence there at the same time for a week. And we would do these sort of like share back sessions, like, and she played something off of an EP she'd done. And I just went, oh my God, this is unreal. I've never heard anybody sound like, who is this person? And it just totally knocked me out. And so we stayed friends, and just as something to do and for fun during the pandemic, did a version of "You Were Always on My Mind," the Willie Nelson song, mm-hmm. And we just really enjoyed working on that together. And I came to that tune Alberta via that Doc Watson project, and Jeff and I recorded that together. And yeah, it's interesting how that's the only song that I've ever recorded twice, and I think it's partially because I felt like I just got better at interpreting it and playing it over time. And then sort of after the initial recording of it on that Doc record, I felt like I kept playing it on my own and it shows and stuff because I really liked it. And I felt like I kind of uncovered some other layers and it felt like something to do again. And I just had her in mind for that all along. And yeah, it's a pretty arresting performance that she gives on that song, you know. So
Yeah, it's wonderful. And yeah, I love I noticed that. I was like, oh wow, this is the same tune, but and it's similar, but it's also quite different too. That's what I love about it. Yeah, it has this different energy to it, and yeah, having her vocal was it was great.
Yeah, she's something else.
She's something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're writing for, or when you're recording, producing a vocalist, and you not necessarily want like the pop song structure. How do you talk to her about like the phrasing that you want? Do you leave the phrasing up to her, or do you kind of work with a singer on that?
In that particular recording, that was one that was done. That one was done. She was in the UK, and I recorded the guitar, and I said, I'm afraid I want to play the melody with you. So I've played it here. And so really just, try to find me, as best you can in terms of the phrasing. I don't want it to feel like totally exact, but I want it to feel, sort of like, like we were doing it in real time together, And so I think it was a pretty early take that she did, and I think it has a sense. It kind of captured that feeling that I was hoping it would, which is like we're doing it together in real time for the first time, and she's kind of hearing how I'm phrasing it, and vice versa, and it's linking up in places and being kind of felt in real time.
Yeah. I love that about it. Yeah. It's locked in, but it's breathing, and it's moving around. Yeah. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Before we go, so are you going to tour this very much? Are you going to play some shows? When the record comes out?
I'm hoping so. I mean, we'll play in New York and we'll play in LA later in the year. And then we'll, hopefully be, heading to Europe in the fall, and then again in the spring, and we'll see how it goes from there. It's like whatever we're able to get out there and do, we're excited to do. So yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I am such a fan of yours, of all the things that you do, and this new album. I just can't wait for everyone to get to listen to it. Man, it is just it's a fantastic album front to back.
Thank you, Brad. Really means a lot. I sincerely appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. And I've been really enjoying this podcast. I was listening earlier and last week as well. It's really great. So congratulations on this as well. It's really cool.
Thank you so much. And just best of luck. And everyone go and check out Matthew's new album that's going to be releasing May 8th. So check it out.
That's right. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
All right.
Okay. Pleasure to meet you. Okay.
Likewise.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow or subscribe to the Bandwich Tapes wherever you listen, and consider leaving a rating or review. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.